it's Sean. Hopefully you liked the preview clip. It was pretty easy to make with the GoPro software that I have. And hopefully someday I will get an opportunity for somebody to actually create these previews. Maybe I'll get a chance to hire somebody. Anyhow, the topic of today's video is how to survive an armed encounter when there's 3 assailants. Before we get into the video, I'm going to talk about some equipment. I'm going to talk about the range. YouTube has since about a week or so, they changed their whole policy on gun videos. Now, this is not a gun channel. This is a private security and private investigations channel, but sometimes we do talk about guns, we talk about weapons, and every time I do so, I tend to get YouTube not to like me. They'll demonetize a video, or they'll put it at limited monetization. So not a good thing. So one of the new requirements is that you show that you operated in a safe environment, the range was safe, and you're not being careless, you're not being reckless, you're being safe with the gun. Since I'm probably going to be demonetized or limited anyhow, I'm going to show you what I used on the range. Why not, right? So this is my Glock 22 Gen 3 frame on the Gen 3 slide on a Gen 4 frame. It is milled right here. The slide cuts, and I have a Glock pure tungsten guide rod, which does an awesome job. This is not the half of a tungsten. This is the actual 100% pure tungsten rod. If you don't know about tungsten, tungsten is the same material that some men put on their. It's what their wedding bands are created out of. It's a high density metal. I have a Surefire 300 attached to here. This is actually the classic version. Trigicon Type 2 3.2 MOA. I have suppressor height sights. These are fiber optics, red in the front and blacked out in the rear. The gun has been checked before the video, but I'm going to check it again because this is a safe video. Lock the slide to the rear. There is no ammunition device, no magazine in the well of the gun. I'm going to visually and physically inspect for a live round. There's no rounds at all, and the gun is safe. So just to show you the type of video I did today, the type of training, look at the holster. This was a nice holster, but as you can see, it's all scratched up, and that's what holsters are supposed to. That's what's supposed to happen in a holster. They're supposed to get banged up and scratched up because you're supposed to be training with that. Okay, so let's talk about the range environment. So the range was done in open desert area. My backstop was a hill that was more than 20, maybe 30 feet high. There was nothing beyond. To the east of me, about 300 yards, maybe even farther than that, was a gentleman in a camper. He had some ATVs that were parked there, and another gentleman that recently parked his truck that was facing north. During the video clips that I'm going to show you, what I end up doing is when I leave the target area, when I leave the target zone, the gun is placed in a safe position. It's hard to tell on camera, but I actually place it a little bit downwards, and then when the camper and the truck and everything else, when that comes to view, the gun actually goes up like this. I'm running with this, so it's about here, up and down, and then I head to the truck. Again, that's another safe area. Never is a gun pointed towards the street or at anybody. It's never pointed at anything that I do not intend to shoot, nothing that I do not intend to destroy. Some people might ask, why didn't you holster the gun while you took cover to the back or to the rear of your truck? Well, in a gunfight or lethal force encounter, there's no need to holster your gun because you're still in the fight. You're trying to win the fight, and it's going to be dangerous because the atmosphere is already it already is dangerous being in these types of situations. So about the scenario that I created, I know that I might get some flack for some people. They might be saying, well, you didn't recreate a realistic scenario. Well, the only realistic scenario that you can create is a real life gunfight encounter with 3 people. You can't recreate that. Simunitions would work. It would create um, that adrenaline response. But the problem is reaching out to distances of about 24 to 25 yards out with the gun still being accurate with a simunition round or some other marking cartridge. I don't think that those cartridges would be that accurate at that distance. And then second, I don't have simunitions and I don't have 2 or 3 other people to help me out make this video. The targets, they're not going to move. We know that. We know that already. They're going to stay where they're at. And there's really no way within a reasonable price limit of changing around the scenario. So my suggestion is that if you get a lethal force encounter presented to you, so you get 3 guys with guns that pull a gun on you, the situation or the tips that I'm going to provide, it's not a one fit size all scenario. It will work for some scenarios. It might not work for others. But if you decide to use this technique, the tips and the training that I'm going to show you in a minute, if you believe it's training, I would do this. So if you got 3 people, okay, you first want to take out or stop the threat that is most lethal to you. So if you have a guy with a knife that's 20 feet in back of you, another guy with a gun, well, the gun's going to reach you, or the bullet that is projected from that gun is going to hit you probably before the knife. So you have to categorize everything. But if you have all 3 gun situations, or all 3 bad guys have the gun and they're presenting the gun at you, my advice is try to distract them. In this scenario that I created on video, which you're going to watch, I'm holding a pail, a large bucket. It's a 50-gallon bucket and it's full with brass. I'm simulating that I'm carrying money. I'm perhaps an armed transport guard and I'm transporting money from point A to B, and all of a sudden I'm ambushed. I get these 3 assailants coming towards me. What do? So the first thing that I did was I tossed the pail or the bucket. What I should have done after reviewing the video is tossed it a lot more to my left. So if that is what they want, then they'll be more focused on that, and it also serves as a distraction. I would probably throw it a lot more to the left so that they'll be more distracted that way. Second is the B line, and what I mean by that is I want to move from left to right in a horizontal manner. I don't want to do any vertical movement. I don't want to go directly back and forth because it's very easy to hit your target if you're just moving back and forth, or your target is just moving back and forth. It's really easy. There's drills that we replicate even as a firearm instructor, and they're so easy to get all your hits on target walking backwards, especially from between 3 yards all the way up to the 7-yard line, and even 15. You walk backwards, you get your 2 hits in the chest. You could even do failure drills, and then you get 1 in the head. Those types of drills are very easy to show how accurate you can be if a target just moves vertically, which is up and down, or back and forth. When the target moves from the left to the right, you actually have to sway your arms, and you may need to even track your target. Those of you that are hunters, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You're tracking the target. Maybe even duck hunting. I've never been duck hunting or dove hunting, but I'm sure that you track the target. But that involves a strategy. You don't just become good one day. So what these bad guys are doing, they're going to have to be doing is they're going to have to be tracking the target from left to right if they want to hit you. But remember, all they want is the money most of the time. They don't want to get in a gunfight with you. They want to leave as safe as possible. This is not your active shooter or your suicide attacker. I mean, these people normally they want to live and they want to be able to enjoy the proceeds from thievery. So will they track you and shoot you? They might. But I think the safest way from the situation is from here, and I'll show you the video. It's to move to left to right a lot faster. In the video, I take out all 3 threats, 2 rounds each. But I actually use my foot as a pivoting point. So I'm just like bang, 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 and I think I made like 1 or 2 steps. What I should have did was bang, bang the first guy, and then start moving towards the second, and then the third guy. So I should have did a lot more lateral movement. Um, you will find out that each target was hit 2 times, which is a good thing, and it was about 3.5 seconds. So 3.5 seconds, 6 rounds, 3 targets. The distance was it changed. I think it was about between 4 and 6 yards from left to right. Okay. Now, after those 2 targets were stopped, as you can see, I start running towards the truck that is parked, and there's actually an incline on the hill. The truck is actually parked on the upper portion of it. The camera was on the top, so you really get a plain view from that perspective of when I mounted the GoPro camera, and you don't really see the incline, but it was on an incline, and the truck was parked right then and there. When I ran horizontal, you also see that I turned real quick and I went vertical. Okay, I went directly towards the truck. Ideally, you want to just keep beelining. You want to just keep running east, which is running right. You just keep going. I mean, realistically, and quite honestly, if this was a real situation, then I would just hook to the north, which is left again, and climb up one of those hills, and just engage in stand my ground and exchange in a fight with all 3 guys if they're still standing. You gotta see that it is on top of a hill. When you're on top of a hill, you do get a benefit, but that's what I would do. I wouldn't just keep running. I go up there and then just start taking them out one by one if they are still a lethal threat. One other thing to mention is that when I took a position at the truck, ideally you want to get the engine block area, because that's where the rounds are going to most likely stop, especially if it's a handgun round. I took the rear of my truck near the tires, actually right near the rim. The rim provided coverage. The little berm, there's actually a berm that you can't see too clearly. That also provided coverage as well. If you're able to clearly see me on video firing back, then let me know. But I think I was hitting pretty good, and the bad guys, they're going to be wondering where those shots are ringing out. And for you, that's a good thing. Now, are the bad guys, are they going to just stay there like stick figures and just start firing back like this in real life? No. Okay, at that point in time, they're going to be running off, executing their getaway plan. But again, you can't replicate some of these environments, these real life situations. So that's why it is. I simulated a gunfight right at the truck. And if you also notice that the berm part, it was getting hit. So maybe about 5 feet in front of me, you could actually see my rounds start impacting the dirt. And this is what happened. I think. So you have a sight over bore issue. The red dot sight is perhaps maybe 3/4 of an inch or so above the bore. So you have this much of a gap. So if I'm aiming at the threat, and I was only able to get like the top parts of them, it was kind of hard to see without peeking my head out more over the hill. And again, if you saw totally my head over the hill, let me know. But I think I was pretty much covered under the hill. But what I should have did was actually aim significantly higher. I think I would have had more impacts. But look at the video, and I'm going to show it to you, and you're going to see the berm being impacted by my gun. Those shots probably didn't go on target as expected. Okay, that's all I can think of right now. I'm going to show you the video in a bit, and I'm going to show you also where the rounds were impacting. All in all, the hit ratio was about 36%. And we did another video about hit ratios in these types of shootings and the types of encounters. We talked about Chicago in the 80s had a 15% hit ratio, or I think it was 20. I think Miami was the 15%, but a lot of the agencies there are 20%, 30%, some were 50%. But my hit ratio was 36%. 36%. Now the shooting conditions were ideal. It was 80 degrees, and I'm totally out of shape. My heart was pounding, maybe 170 beats per minute. I actually had a difficult time performing the course, but it's good to do this because you're able to identify your weakness. And my worst performance today, or that day when I practiced this drill, would be my best performance in a real life encounter. So 36%, I could definitely do better. I've never tried out this course. This is the first time ever that I tried out this course, and I videotaped it, everything. It took a lot of time walking up and down the hill trying to get the best angles for this videotape. Video recording, there's no more videotapes. That's something of the ancient times. You who are in California, and I know maybe about half of you are, we are restricted generally, okay? I'm just saying that regardless of any exemptions, generally we are restricted to only 10 rounds in the magazine. There are 6 other states or 5 other states that follow suit with California. You can't have more than 10. I fired a total of about 44 rounds. For those of you who are in California, you would need to have 5 magazines to accomplish that task. Now, I use the high capacity magazines because, well, I can't say high capacity in this video, but it's actually a standard capacity because it's 15 rounds of 40 cal. So scratch that. This is not high capacity. It's standard capacity, 15 rounds. Those of you from California will consider our magazines that are 10 rounds and under, we'll consider those low capacity rounds or low capacity magazines. So you would need five magazines in California of low capacity, so they equal 50 in order, with the capacity to hold 50 in order to fire 44. So you need 5 mags. I used a standard capacity 15 round mags, and I used a total of 3. So I did 3 magazine exchanges. The first incident where there's 3 guys, that was just that's the same magazine, and I didn't do a tactical reload because you don't do tactical reloads unless the scene is safe, the fight is over, or it's most likely over, but you're in a position of security. That's where you do this tactical reloads. What I did is a speed reload, which was in back of the truck. And why did I do a speed reload? Well, because it was ongoing gunfight, ongoing gun battle scenario. I'm not going to do no tactical reload. And also in these deadly situations, it's very difficult to do round counts, to remember how many rounds you fired, how many rounds are left. I mean, this is very difficult to do. I remember in the beginning of my training, some instructors would tell me, well, as a responsible firearm owner, you should know how many rounds you fired during all of our drills. Well, I mean, the reality is, because of all the stress and everything, you want to focus on the threat, not necessarily how many rounds of ammunition you want. But it is a good thing to know, though, how much you have left. Now, but I felt sufficient, even at 10 rounds for the first 3 guys, and then running to the back of the truck, I'd still feel sufficient with 10 rounds. But I think at the time when I stopped at the truck, I think at that time I would have done a speed reload because I didn't know how many rounds I had left. So California, you would have to do 5. And total time that was spent was about 50 seconds to a minute, 44 rounds. So everything that I did lasted about 55 seconds. So just imagine this is a real life situation, and you're firing all the rounds that you hear going off on the videos. On the video, the last round, that's it. Okay, that's the 44th round. Okay, that's not a lot of ammunition. So especially for private security, I like to have that final magazine just in case you need it, to lace legal suppressive fire, just to keep their head down while you get out of Dodge, while you get out of the scene. That's why it's important to have at least 3 magazines for that situation. 4 is also wouldn't be a bad idea as well. Before I show you the video, I do want to explain that the first 6 rounds were likely impacts, and the rounds that were at the car, or down the truck, okay, that was about 24 yards away, you guys. 24 yards away. Doing the calculations at that distance, I think the accuracy was 25%. So 1 out of 4, roughly 25%. 1 out of 4 times that I shot from the truck area, and under the or over the hill, that was about 25% hit rate. That's not too good. But again, remember, the stress was there. I mean, my heart was pounding. It was very hard to focus. I just remember the muzzle of the gun was moving a lot. Okay. Now, something about the red dot system, the MRDS, miniature red dot system. This is what I use. So the first target on the left, I used the red dot, and I knew that I didn't have enough time. I mean, I think I got all 3 in 3.5 seconds. But what I remember doing actually was putting this small window and superimposing it on the second target, and then on the second target, and then changing it to the third target. Just superimposing this window. And there's been some studies with other firearm instructors, and I don't remember what the distance is, but if you can frame this window on the target, you don't even have to see the red dot. I don't want to say the word guaranteed. I'll say the word likely, but you are likely to impact in the vital zone or around the vital zone if you just use the window. And that's what I did for the second and the third shots. Okay, that's it. Let's go watch the video. Now I won't be coming back and doing another brief. You'll watch the video, and then this entire video will end. But if you would please press the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any questions, concerns, any requests for any future videos, please do so right after you watch the video. Hey guys, so that was a good workout. Now some of you might be thinking, hey, you know what, all this shooting and tactics and theatrics that you did, Sean, well, it looks like maybe theatrics, you probably didn't hit anything. Let's take a look. First target, C-zone, non-fatal, maybe, right in the face, fatal. Number 2 target, A-zone, 1, 2, 3, 2 in the C-zone, fatal area. Here, let's see, 1, 2, well, we'll just count the C-zone here. Be badly injured here. Let's talk about total round count. I fired a total of about 44 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 rounds out of about 44 rounds.